The Lion Game by Schmitz. I grabbed this because it has a Wayne Barlow cover. He's my favorite artist. This one I will sell. Beyond the Fields We Know by Lord Dunsany. I will keep it. Fourth Mansions by Lafferty. Not a common book. I'm keeping that one. The Light at the End of the Universe by Terry Carr. It is an uncommon science fiction comedy book. Science fiction comedy is a really tough sell for me. So this is going to be a maybe. I know that that's not very common. Chain of Chance by Lem. Pretty bad cover, but I'm going to keep it. Neverness by Zindel. Supposed to be very good. I will sell that. Star by De Fontenay. This is a proto-science fiction, very early work. I'm going to keep that because it's in really good condition. That's not very common and it's really interesting. Where Were You Last Pluter Day by Paul Van Herk. Another rare one. Supposed to be good. Another comedic book. Zen and the Art of Writing by Bradbury. That's a gift from my father. I'm going to keep it. Barlow's Guide to Extraterrestrials in hardcover, first edition. This is one of the books that got me launched in reading science fiction in the first place. In fact, through a little piece of serendipity, I specifically remember the Planet of Adventure entries, reading those when I was a kid, and reading the summaries and thinking that they were totally fascinating. And I still have to actually follow through and read those books. But yeah, you can't beat Barlow. I'm keeping that one. The City and the Stars. This was a gift from my friend Chris. I'm going to keep that. Tangents by Greg Bear. This is signed by Greg Bear. Even though I know that I would get a decent amount of money for this, I would feel bad selling that one. I'm going to keep it. The Folio Society edition of Petronius's Satirica. It's an interesting work. I intend to read it at some point, but I don't need to own the Folio edition, so I'm going to sell that one. Metro 2033. This is a gift from Whitney at Secret Sauce of Storycraft, so I'm keeping that one. Hardcover of A Princess of Mars by Burroughs. This is a book club edition. I will sell that one. I do want to read it at some point. I really need to sell a few more of these. The Millennium by Upton Sinclair, a comedy of the year 2000. This is satire and dystopian science fiction. The Jungle is sublime. Must be read if you have not read it. This is a gift from Stephen Andrews, Outlaw Bookseller. The Ziri and the Magician, which is the original title of the first Dying Earth book that was retitled The Dying Earth. That's one of my favorites ever. Autumn by Nausgard, literary fiction, really nice hardcover. I'm going to sell it. The ones I'm selling are going to be in a Whatnot auction. I'll put a pinned comment for when. Serotonin by Welbeck, really nice hardcover copy. I'm going to sell it. Against Nature by Weeman. Important book, but I'm going to sell it. It's going to be a while until I get around to reading that. The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. I'm keeping this. I told my dad I would give this to him and I forgot. So, keeping that one. Gather Darkness by Fritz Leiber. That's a maybe. The Witling, Werner Vinge, and the Daw. Maybe. The Wine of Violence by James Morrow has an interesting premise. I'm going to sell it, I think. George R.R. Martin, The Dying of the Light, or Dying of the Light in the Timescape. Probably going to keep this. Eyes of the Overworld by Jack Vance. Going to keep that one. The Beginning Place by Ursula Le Guin. Uncommon book. I will sell it. Mask Theory by Jack Vance. Beautiful, beautiful cover. I tried to read this one time and I found it completely incomprehensible. But that's a really pretty cover and I have trouble letting go of any Jack Vance. Native Tongue by Suzette Elgin. Interesting premise. It's about linguistics. It's got a chip in the cover. I think I'm going to sell that one. That's not super high on the TBR. Space Relations by Donald Barr. I'm keeping this one. This is very rare. This is a famous book in certain circles because Donald Barr was Jeffrey Epstein's college professor at one point, and apparently there are some like weird parallels with the Epstein case and fictional events in this book. So it's highly collectible by certain kinds of people. This is probably worth over $100. Very hard to find. Happened to find one before I knew about all that, so I'm going to keep it. The Dasadi Experiment by Herbert. Really nice copy. I'm going to sell that. Engine Summer by John Crowley. This is supposed to be very good. This was always kind of called to me. I'm going to keep it. Soldier of the Mist by Gene Wolfe. There's another one called Soldier of Arete that I think is a sequel to that. I'm going to sell it. The Ice People by Barjavel. French. It's French. I think I'm going to sell that one. Some of these I may end up keeping. Voyage of the Space Beagle, Van Vogt. Or Van Vogt. The Wine Dark text block. Probably going to sell that. The Well at World's End, Volume 2 by William Morris. I know that I have Volume 1 somewhere around here. Am I showing it properly? I'm going to keep this. Great covers. Yeah, there it is. Volume 1. Volume 2, not super common. I'm going to keep those. CJ Cherry, Down Below Station in the DAW. Supposed to be great. I'm going to sell that one. Lioness by Jack Vance in excellent condition. This is not a very common book. I think I've only ever found it this one time. So I'm going to hang on to that one. Eye of the Queen by Philip Mann. Or Mann. Is he German? Is he? I think he's British, so probably Mann. Same author that wrote Pax Wax. Them Bones by Howard Waldrop. Obscure science fiction. Keeping that. To Live Forever by Jack Vance. Probably going to keep that. Nightfall, the Asimov and Silverberg edition. This is expanded from the short story. I'm going to sell it. It's supposed to be very, very good. Startling Worlds of Henry Kuttner. This is not common. I'm going to keep it. The Castle by Franz Kafka. Beautiful copy. This is the same artwork as is on Gene Wolfe's Innocents Aboard, his fantasy collection. I'm going to sell it. I want to read that at some point. Keep the Aspidistra Flying. This is a sentimentally important book to me, and it's also excellent, and it might be my favorite Orwell. Keep that one. Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. This is a phenomenal book. Haven't read any other Ellis. Probably never going to read American Psycho. Just simply not interested, but I resonate with that book very much. Of Walking in Ice by Herzog, Werner Herzog. Definitely not a common book, and Herzog is I guess I'll call him a hero of mine. Stone Gods by Jeanette Winterson. This is interesting. Winterson's fiction, I've tried it a couple times. I don't think it's quite for me, but she wrote, it'll probably be in the same video, she wrote a book, a nonfiction book of critical essays called Art Objects. That's one of my favorite nonfiction books. I think I'm probably going to sell that one. The Fantasy Worlds of Peter Beagle. This is book club looking. Hardcover. I'm going to sell that. Heretics of Dune by Herbert. I'm going to sell it. The Parasite by Ramsey Campbell. This is a gift from Bob's Books. I'm going to keep it. My copy of Hunger by Newt Hampson. Keeping it. Black Spring by Henry Miller. The author I have tried perhaps more than any other author to like, unsuccessfully. Maybe Tolkien. Tolkien and Miller. Tolkien successfully, I came to enjoy. Miller, I don't know, his prospects are a little more dim. On paper, I should love Henry Miller. I like all the authors that are associated with him. But him and Anais Nin, or however her name is pronounced, are the two that I like can't stand for whatever reason. So that's a vintage. Can't stand is too strong, but you get what I'm saying. No Longer Human is a great book. Got this at a Goodwill in Los Angeles, keeping that one. Tides of Time by John Brunner. Gonna sell. Star Dreamer by Cordwainer Smith. Look at that cover. I'm keeping that one. Bruce Sterling, Islands in the Net. Gonna sell it. My copy of Death World. I'm attached to this, so I'm going to keep that. Inferno by Niven and Purnell, vintage copy. Gonna sell it. Temple of Dawn by Mishima in the Vintage Classics, or Vintage International. Gonna sell. Stations of the Tide by Michael Swanwick. It's supposed to be a great book, and it's not very common. Freedom by Jonathan Franzen. I think this is signed. I have a ton of signed editions of Franzen hardcover books. It is signed. You know what? I think I'm probably going to sell this one because I know I have so many of them. And same with the corrections. It is signed as well. In 2001. I'm going to sell those. The Lost Weekend by Charles Jackson, one of my favorite literary fiction books. Gift from my dad. I will keep. Travels with Charlie. Very attached to this book. This is the collected stories of Kafka. Got this for $2 at a little thrift store like 5 years ago. One of the books that made me fall back in love with reading. Oh, this is great. I got these at the flea market, the same one that I got the like rare Lord Dunsany book at. Idle Thoughts of an Idle Fellow, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Second Thoughts of an Idle Fellow by Jerome K. Jerome. This is a proto-anti-work work about a layabout in defense of the layabout lifestyle, which is something that I endorse. So I'm going to read those at some point. Kingsley Amis, Lucky Jim. This was a present from a friend that I never followed through on and read. Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn by Miller. I'm going to sell them. Those are pretty rare. Ask the Dust by John Fonte. Amazing book. I'm going to keep that. There's Art Objects by Winterson. It's a book about art, cultivating a relationship with art, and reading, well, not reading, but experiencing art for the sake of experiencing art as something that is difficult and not just an exercise in personal enjoyment. Phenomenal book. Women by Bukowski in the Black Sparrow edition. Probably going to sell that one. The Loved One by Evelyn Waugh. Going to sell it. This is supposed to be very good. We're getting into my little nonfiction grotto here. The Art of Memory by Francis Yates. This is a fascinating topic, and this is the most famous book about it, is the subject of mnemotechnics. So how the oral tradition was able to be passed down with a high degree of fidelity because the people who would memorize the works used these advanced mnemonic techniques to do it. So this is a history of mnemonics as this lost form of technology that was of central, critical importance to culture and the arts that was completely, almost completely left behind. Those techniques actually still work and that's how like competitive memorizers still operate. Interesting topic. Working by Robert Caro. That is a gift, so I'll keep it. My Sibley guide. This was with me through all of college. I'm going to keep it. A book about calisthenics. I will sell. The Skeptical Inquirer and Analyzing the Mill Creek Bigfoot Footprints. My friend Dave sent this to me. It's an old magazine. I'm keeping it. We'll get back to science fiction in a second here. It's a bunch of hardcover books from the 90s about fishing. Sell them. Spoon Plugging, an old fishing book. I'll sell. I'm really interested in like forgotten fishing lore. Fisherman's Spring by Roderick Haig Brown. This was a gift from my grandfather. That's pretty important to me. I'm going to keep it. Crooked, Outwitting the Back Pain Industry. This is a book about chronic pain. I'll sell that one. It's interesting. Slavery, a World History. Not just American chattel slavery, but slavery as an institution across cultures. Really interesting stuff in here. I read just over half of it, as you can tell. I'll sell it. Hardcover of Freedom by Jonathan Franzen. I'll sell. Soul on Fire by Eldridge Cleaver. This is the sequel to Soul on Ice, his most famous book. This is extremely rare. I'm going to hang on to that one. Definitely a controversial figure. Behind the Paint by Violent J of Insane Clown Posse. Somebody whose achievements are truly stunning. I'm not being ironic at all. Another vintage fishing book about fishing in Southern California. I'll sell it. A Doré Treasury of Gustave Doré. I think I'll sell this one as much as I love it. It's the old woodcuts of biblical scenes. Really important artist. Probably recognize. The Bigfoot book, the Encyclopedia of Sasquatches, Yeti, and Cryptid Primates. I'll sell it. It's beautiful vintage. I think it's a children's book about birds, but it has these great plates in it. I was going to cut these out and frame them. Never got around to it. I'll sell that one. What It's Like to Be a Bird by David Allen Sibley. Beautiful book. This was a gift from my parents. Just gorgeous. The turkey itself is not gorgeous, but the book is gorgeous. Keep it. Had this book forever. James Prozic's Trout. He did these paintings of all the subspecies of all the trout in North America. Beautiful book. Keep that one. Back to the science fiction. Got this for $1. And I'm keeping it. Need to reread it. Haven't read it since I was a teenager. Drowned World and The Wind from Nowhere by Ballard. I think this might be a book club. But pretty old. And I'm keeping it. Vintage Sheep Look Up by John Brunner. Keeping it. I Am Legend by Matheson, the non-Will Smith edition. I'm going to sell it. The Foundation Trilogy and the Everyman Library edition. That's a maybe. It's just really nice. I know that these are not that tough to find, but or the books generally, but this is the one that I read. It's really nice. I might keep it. Yeah, I'm going to be keeping these. Shadow of the Torturer, Claw of the Conciliator, Citadel of the Autarch, and Sword of the Lictor by Gene Wolfe. The entirety of the first four. The entirety of the non-complete Book of the New Sun. Clark Ashton Smith, The Monster of the Prophecy, I'm keeping. That's pretty rare. Count Zero by William Gibson. I'm keeping. Man in the Maze by Silverberg in this kick-ass vintage copy. I am keeping. Vintage Naked Lunch by Burroughs. Another guy that I really struggle to like. I'll give him another shot. I'm going to keep that one. Timescape of Demolished Man by Bester. Keeping it. Ringworld, Larry Niven. I will sell. One of those books I feel duty-bound to read, but I'm not super excited about it. Final Program by Moorcock. Gonna keep. Island of Dr. Moreau. I will sell. Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. I will sell. Strange Relations by Philip Jose Farmer. I will keep. This is the entirety of the Demon Princes series by Jack Vance. In reverse order. Book of Dreams, The Face, Palace of Love, The Killing Machine, and Star King. Keeping those for sure. Cities in Flight. This is one of the rare instances I'm actually going to sell the vintage copy and keep the more contemporary one, just because I think the more recent one that was in the last video will be a little bit more pleasant to read. Not that that will be unpleasant, but I'm going to sell that one. This Immortal by Zelazny. This might be the one Zelazny that I keep on, other than Dream Master, because this is supposed to be an important one. Deepness in the Sky, first edition hardcover by Werner Vinge. This was a gift from Ryan of Vintage Viking. I'm going to keep it. Thank you. Ratman's Notebooks by Stephen Gilbert. This is the source material for that Crispin Glover movie about the rats. I don't remember what it's called. It's a book club edition, not a super common book. I think I'm going to sell it because I'm keeping too many of these, it turns out. Silverberg's at Winter's End. I'm going to sell it. As the Curtain Falls, keeping. Obscure Dying Earth book. Joanna Russ's The Hidden Side of the Moon. Only ever found this one Joanna Russ ever. And all my time thrifting books, that's the only Joanna Russ I've ever found, so I'm keeping it. Changeling by Zelazny, I am going to sell. Shakespeare's Planet by Simak, beautiful cover, going to sell it. False Dawn by Chelsea Quinn Yarborough. This is supposed to be great. Comes recommended by Fit to Be Read, and I happen to have this hardcover of it, so I'm going to keep that one. Heritage of Stars by Simak. I will sell Midsummer Century by James Blish in the hardcover. I'm going to keep. I cannot bring myself to sell Blish. Stargate by Pauline Gedge or Gedgy. Rare book. Was lucky to find a copy. I'm going to keep it. Special Deliverance by Simak. I will sell. Etchy and Old Earth by Jack Vance, also from Vintage Viking. I will keep that. Jaws, a novel. That's a first edition book club of Jaws with this suave MFer on the back. I'm going to keep. Also from Vintage Viking, Galactic Pot Healer by Philip K. Dick. Raymond Chandler's The Little Sister, vintage paperback. I will sell. The World Wreckers by Marion Zimmer Bradley. I will sell. The Longest Way Home by Robert Silverberg. I'm going to sell that one. Lord Valentine's Castle. I think this is a book club hardcover. Yeah, book club edition hardcover. I'm going to sell that one. Schismatrix Plus by Sterling. I will sell. Life During Wartime by Lucius Shepard is not a common book. It's supposed to be very good. It's kind of smashed up. That's going to be a maybe. Superluminal by Vonda McIntyre. I will sell. That's not a common one either. The Worm Ouroboros by Edison. This vintage Tolkien-esque paperback I will keep. The Siberiad by Lem I will keep. Minority Report, Philip K. Dick, I will sell. And The Iron Dragon's Daughter by Swanwick I will also sell. That does it for this chunk. The next one is going to be the Sci-Fireplace. I think I'm going to do the whole Sci-Fireplace in one go. All right, I'll see you at the Whatnot auction.